snacks.
Hey, we live.
Of course we are. What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your homie Gage. We got Jokes in the building.
Yo, yo.
We have Sin in the building.
Yes, sir.
Special guest, Mr. Tyrone Selby, in the building with us.
Blam.
Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. You are officially watching our Being Comfortable, Being a Geek panel for July 2020. And oh, what a year.
Yeah.
2020 has been.
No.
Yes.
Throw it away.
Nah, it ain't done yet.
2020 ain't done yet
Be a
with
geek.
us.
Come on, man. It's a great time to be a geek. You could just stay at
We
home
have
and
all
catch
the
up on
time to watch
all
all
the
the things.
shows,
Hey, talk about it.
play the games,
That's true.
do
That's
the
true.
Talk
stuff.
about it.
You know what I mean?
Make all the cosplays.
Straight
No,
up.
this would be a
So,
perfect time to build them.
well, yeah, and hope that you can use them next year. So,
Right. Not this year.
so, check this out. This is again our being comfortable being a geek panel, and this panel specifically is literally about what the title is. It is about our journeys in getting comfortable being a geek. It is about other people being comfortable being a geek, and it is about helping others get to a place where they are comfortable being a geek. Not always an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what this is about. We're going to discuss just kind of what our journeys have been. We're going to discuss, kind of how to help other people do that same thing. So I want to start by saying for those who are uninitiated, for the three of us, myself, Gage, and Jokes, and for Sin, we are Loading Snacks, which now's not the time to define the name. However, what we do is we create content for geeks around the geek culture itself, because it is stuff that we love and it's part of our everyday life. And so getting out there and talking about it and having opinions on it, which we all do, we enjoy sharing that and building a community around it. And so that's what we do and who we are.
Absolutely.
Tyrone, please take a few minutes to tell everybody who's watching who you are, and I don't know. I mean, what you do? You do a lot. The geek side of what you do, maybe.
How much time we got?
Maybe it's all geek.
He's like, I'm gonna take the whole show. I'm gonna take the whole show.
Let's see. Let's run down the list. No. Long and short of it, my full-time job is a ballroom dance teacher.
That's pretty
Yeah. The short version is that I'm an entertainer. I have directed a film festival for 5 years. I was a filmmaker for several years. I produced and ran camera and lighting for a lot of stage plays and a lot of stage events, as you guys got to see at All Star Con. Yeah, I mean, like, what I do is kind of all over the place. I'm just in entertainment.
Dig it.
Sure.
Oh, and also I write comics.
Oh, that.
I was about to say.
The banner behind him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Writing comics, huh?
Sometimes I forget that I do that too. So that's why I always put it up to remind me.
Smart.
That's kind of important.
Yeah.
So before we dig too deep into what it is that a geek is and what makes someone a geek, I kind of want to get into some background. So I want to start with you, Tyrone. Would you say that you've always been a geek?
Yes.
Is that a tough one?
But yeah, I had to think about that. I actually did have to think about that because I would say yes, but I didn't know it. So like there came a point where I came to the realization, was just like, oh yeah, I think I'm a geek. And that came really late, like when I was like 18 or 19. Like when I came to the realization. I do a soft blame on my mother, put on your hats, because back in the day when we had Fox Kids and WB50, my mom and I would always wake up and watch Saturday morning cartoons together. That was just our family time.
Okay.
So we're watching Superman, Batman Superman Adventures, Batman Beyond, Animaniacs, Shaolin Showdown,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Static Shock. Like we're doing, and my mother will tell you she's not a
Yeah.
geek. Like,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
that was like the start. X-Men the animated series. Like that was the start of me being a nerd.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. Um, it wasn't like I went to a Star Wars movie as a kid and then all of a sudden it's like I'm a nerd. Like that. That's just not
Right.
how that happened.
It had those subtle beginnings. So on that note, I mean, I think for real, for a lot of us, our stories are very similar. Like
Hmm.
what I'm personally into, I have been into since I could walk. I feel like, you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
Spider-Man's always been a thing. Cartoons have always been a thing. Comic books I didn't get into until I was in like middle school. Um, but video games always been a thing.
Hmm.
Um, Sin, what about you? You've always known you were a geek, right? Or you've always been into it anyway?
Always into it. Yes, yes, yes. And just like Tyrone said, I got to credit to my parents, like my aunts and uncles, that type of stuff. Like my mother and all them, they were Star Wars. So ever since I was little, like Star Wars, here's the toys, we're gonna play with them.
Mhm.
It's like that. Saturday morning cartoons, GI Joe, all that kind of stuff. My uncles got me into anime heavy when I was young. Hit me with that influence. I haven't turned back since. And my father was the one that got me into video games. Came in one day and was like, "I got this 2600 with all these games. Here you go, have fun." And from the second I put that cartridge in and started playing, I was like, "Yeah, I'm never going back outside."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good right now. I got this. I have GI Joe and Star Wars and anime and all this. I'm good. I'm happy,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just stuck with me my whole life, and to this day, I don't see it going anywhere ever. None of that stuff.
Jokes, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of on the same playing field. My first real exposure definitely came from moms. Introducing me to Star
Yeah.
Wars and Star Trek. Those are like the first things that I really, truly got into. But then from there, growing up, I didn't necessarily have the label per se. I don't think I really had that definition of what it was to be a geek at the time.
Hmm.
But it was like,
Hmm.
I was into all these things. So for me personally, just like Tyrone, props for that too. But Power Rangers was probably my biggest thing growing up. Having the toys, playing with those, and that kind of began a journey into like that type of realm. So Power Rangers
Agreed.
led to one thing, same thing, watching Fox Kids, Kids
Yeah.
WB, all these Saturday morning cartoons, eventually which bridged into anime, and like it was just a continuous thing to go from there.
I
Hmm.
I want to on that note. I think the important theme in what we're all saying is that when we were kids, we liked video games and cartoons,
Absolutely.
which I
Still
don't
do.
think is strange or weird or makes you a geek at all. I
Yeah.
think
I,
though at some point people begin to feel like there's supposed to be a transition out of that stuff
Hmm.
and
True.
into other things, right?
n-
You're supposed to
I,
give up cartoons and start watching sports, give up video games and start playing sports or something. Like you're not, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
feel like there's an age, maybe as you get to middle school, maybe at least by the time you get into high school, where you're supposed to let some of that stuff go. And I think that that is a differentiator between, for a lot of people, between the adult and being quote unquote a geek. Because when you're a kid, when you're in fifth grade, sixth grade, nobody cares that you still watch cartoons.
mhm.
Like it's a normal thing, and that's what it should be. So I kind of want to touch on the lack of that transition for us,
I'll
because I
go.
think
I'll
that
go
that's a
first.
real thing.
I'll go
Prepared.
Yeah,
He's
first.
like,
man,
I'm prepared
Tyrone,
for
go
this.
for it.
I've
Uh
been waiting
huh.
for this.
Yeah,
So this is just a difference in generations, and that's why the generation the time period that we're in is people are so comfortable being a geek or a nerd is because it's now become socially acceptable. Whereas before, and when we grew up and there before, everything the adults watched sports, the adults watched ESPN or the news and all of these adult things to do. but
Right.
you know, cartoons are for kids. That was the mindset back then.
Mhm.
But now, you know, it's like, first of all, anime and cartoons are just as gory, just as nasty, just as adult themed as any other show that you can put on CBS, TNT, HBO. Like,
Certainly
doesn't
agree.
matter. So it's just another show. We need to. I think the now generation has come to the realization and conclusion that it's not cartoons, as in, okay, now we're watching Veggie Tales. Like, it's it's I'm watching this animated show that is
Yeah.
now featured and geared toward my age group, whether it's a child, a teenager, a young adult, or a mature adult. So
You
Yeah.
know
I
what,
mean,
that.
Ty? I'm gonna say, you know what, Ty? Just
go
to
ahead,
add to
Vic.
that, one thing I always say is that if parents knew like what Naruto was about, they would think twice about letting their kids sit down and watch it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They didn't see something animated and plop them down in front of it. Like, you do realize these are kids trying to kill each other, right?
Mhm.
And there's blood and all that type of stuff. But you just see something anime, you plop them down because you're still in that old school mindset, like you were saying. But
If my mother knew
Yeah.
that I watched Akira at the age that I watched Akira, she would have a conniption.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I guess. It's kind of strange. The changes that we go through. I mean, you think about it. The Flintstones.
Mm-hmm.
When the Flintstones came out, I mean, that was the first prime time cartoon. It came on in the evening. It was for families to watch at night together. It was for adults, and it was about things that were adult. At some point, there was a transition made that said this is stuff that's for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they began to feed it to us. I think the other thing to just kind of touch on the point you made, Sin, about Naruto, is that at least here in the U.S., and let's keep in mind that
Yeah.
the way that we treat a lot of this stuff in the U.S. is so different from the way it is treated in other countries.
absolutely,
Mhm.
yeah.
Is that a lot of the anime is so Americanized, it is so censored that you can sit your kids down in front of it a lot of times. See, because
Mhm.
what you watched then was the Japanese version, and
Mhm.
what they watched was the Toonami version. Not the same thing.
Not
They
the same
watched the
thing.
Kids WB version.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same thing.
Absolutely.
Same show. Not the same content. And I think that there has been less pressure, but I know that while my parents never put pressure on me as I went into middle school and so forth
Mm-hmm.
to adjust the things that I liked and loved and wanted to do, um, that pressure came from my peers. It came
Mhm.
from school. It came from girls or something. You know what I mean? Like, it came
Mhm.
Mhm.
from this need to want to be socially accepted and be a part of the in slash it slash popular slash okay crowd.
Mhm.
That went to the high school football games instead of going home and playing Street Fighter. You know what I
Mhm.
mean, or something like that. Um, Jokes for you. That transition, that place. When did you begin to feel? What age, what grade did you begin to feel that there maybe was some pressure to give up some of the things that you did as a quote unquote as a kid?
I think I think middle school is probably where some of those things started to go in. So kind of like what you said, Tyrone, that shifting into sports kind of thing. So growing up, I wasn't necessarily into sports, wasn't into that. But once I got to middle school, it became a thing of, you know what, you should join the basketball team. This was kind of the talk. You're tall for your age and all this. You would be perfect to hop on the basketball team. And initially I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to necessarily do it, but you know what, I did because at that
Mm-hmm.
time that was the thing to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I did okay. I wouldn't say I was the greatest thing that went on the team or did anything, but I wasn't bad. But at the same time, it was kind of like, I don't know if this is necessarily me. So in
Mhm.
the
Right.
meantime of me being on the basketball team, beforehand while I was in elementary school, I picked up playing trumpet. So I was playing in
Right.
band, concert band, than anything else. Got to middle school, I let it float away a little bit, but then eventually I picked it back up and I started playing in band in middle school. And that really became the thing to do. So I was doing both. I was kind of, at the time, teetering on the line of being, oh, hey, I'm in the band, I'm playing an instrument type of thing, but hey, I'm playing on the basketball team doing this as well, too. So it was...
All while trading Pokemon cards.
All while trading Pokemon cards still at the same time.
Yep.
So there was having those two groups of friends, but then eventually some of those friends kind of bridge the gap themselves, and it was kind of like on a basketball team, you know what, this, you playing Yu-Gi-Oh and all this is kind of interesting, let me come over and take a look at it. So I kind of like the fact that I was a bridge for a few people to kind of experience and get into those type of things. But eventually, you know, it kind of just stuck with me at that point. It's like, hey, I can do multiple things, I'm that type of person, but let me kind of share this out so people understand, you know, hey, the love for Pokemon cards, the love for playing Yu-Gi-Oh! At that time, Game Boy Advance, I think, is probably what was out at that point. So playing this, still hooking up link cables, trading Pokemon, playing whatever games that was on there. So it was
always a thing for you.
It was the thing for me at that point.
Always a thing. So let me ask you this: what were your grades like? Just give me one word. Were they good or bad?
Okay, by all means,
okay.
I was. Don't get me wrong. There was a point in time where I actually made the principal's honor roll. That was a good time for me. But I would say I was the okay. Like, I was on the honor roll, did it consistently. You know, there was that one few time where it was kind of like kind of thing. But I wouldn't say I was the worst student ever. That's definitely not.
Now, what about you, Ty? Were you a good student?
No, I hated school.
Not at all.
That's true.
I mean, like I obviously, I mean, I passed. I mean, but like, I do have an education. But like, here was my problem. I hated going home to do homework. Hated it. If I go to school to learn, to do work, but I got pretty good test grades. My classwork was on pretty good. Homework was always missing.
I'm kind of that's kind of where I was at too.
Like I was,
things you would rather be doing. You already did school all day. You had other things you'd
right,
rather be doing.
Right. Like why? Yeah, I was just in school all day. That's my me time. That's my time where I just hid to be a nerd. Like, I didn't want to be a nerd. Now I get to be a nerd because I'm in my house.
Do you feel like people at school considered you a nerd?
Yeah, you've seen me in person. This scrawny body has been my body the entire time. Because I was never into sports, and I was very adamant and vocal about, like, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. Period. Yeah. And that's why my grades suffered for it. But we're not going to talk about that no more. But like, and like growing up, I had these next door neighbors. They were monsters of athletes. The dad was a former boxer. The mom was a former track star. And there were 3 kids, and they were all just swole beings.
Following in the...
Like,
it was in the genes. It really was in the genes.
Oh my God. And like, they'd get up at 5 a.m. and run, and I'm like, whoa, who does that? I want to get up at 5 a.m. and eat cereal. I got up at 5.
Yeah.
So, like, I did have a track moment, and I just did it for my mom. Sorry if my mom is watching this, but here comes all the truth.
To make her feel better.
Right. But, like, I just did it just because I had to, because I was a minor and I didn't have an opinion. But once I grew an opinion, I was very vocal about it and stopped making me run around in circles. I just want to go home.
Do you feel like there is a difference between a nerd and a geek? Because this isn't a being comfortable being a nerd panel. It's a being comfortable being a geek panel.
What is the difference? I don't see any difference.
Really?
I think that at least in my era, a nerd, when you think of movies like Revenge of the Nerds, a nerd was glasses, button-up shirt, pocket protector, straight A student, bullied by
The jocks.
the athletes and the
Mm-hmm.
jocks because they got good grades. They were the person that you would cheat off of, that you could cheat off of, and even if they didn't want you, they couldn't do anything about it. You know, kind of they were smart. Wasn't necessarily that they were into Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was that they were into science and math,
Mm-hmm.
and they, you know what I mean? And they were socially awkward. Where for me, and geek, I don't think really was a real word when I was growing up. When I, you know, in the 80s, it existed, but it wasn't the same thing. And I think that the separation between the two is that a geek, for me, is just someone who is extremely enthusiastic and really into any particular thing. So
Now, see, that's where I wanted to interject right there, but I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna let you finish that statement.
I think that if you are really into dance, you're a dance geek. If you are really into Harleys, you're a motorcycle geek. You know what I mean? If you love history, you're a history buff, but you're a history geek, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are into comic books and you know the nitty-gritty details of somebody's origin story and where they came from and what issues such and such thing happened in, you're a comic book geek. But you can be a geek really about anything. And whether or not that geekdom is considered quote unquote cool is a different discussion to an extent. But you can be a car enthusiast. You're a geek, bro. You know what I mean? You can be a sports enthusiast because it's never good enough for you to just be all into football. You got to know basketball and you got to know baseball and you probably should know track, and that's what makes you the kind of person who can commentate on ESPN, right?
Right.
There are things. There's a guy that works with me who horse racing is his thing. My man bets consistently. He wins consistently because he knows his stuff. Like he follows. I've been following this filly since she was 2 years old. Like I know all about. You know what I mean? Like so into it. Truly a geek about it. To me, that there's a difference there, in what a geek is and what a nerd. I think nerd actually has a more negative connotation for most people. For most people.
I agree.
But you said you had a point on that you wanted to touch on. Ty, where are you?
It's because to me they're synonymous. They're interchangeable. For the exact example that you gave is just like I can be a comic book nerd. I can be a theater geek. I can be a dance nerd. Like they're synonymous. They're interchangeable. Like just because that pocket protector kid, they're a science geek. They're a science nerd. They're a math nerd. They're a history geek. Like it's almost, they can almost fall out of your mouth in the same context. It's just like you being a geek or a nerd just means you have a special love and interest in your heart for this one particular subject. But
I mean, I think you're right. I think the difference is, I think nerds are generally considered more socially awkward. Like, I'm not socially awkward at all. I don't have that at all. I love science. There was a time when I thought science might be the direction for me to go. In high school, I studied law. Like, being a lawyer, that was a direction I really wanted to go. I was a dancer. I took dance. I was in Boy Scouts. I took martial arts. You name it, my parents put me in it. I'm relatively well-rounded, which I think saved me under a lot of circumstances, because even now, I consider myself a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm relatively comfortable in any situation, talking to any group of people about any subject. It's just kind of who I am. But I'm not socially awkward. I'm not just comfortable being a geek. I'm just comfortable. You know what I mean? And it hasn't always completely been that way. But I wouldn't say, Jokes, have you ever felt socially awkward?
Maybe at a point in time, like in the younger, talking about, like, I would say, like, the coming up, like, in elementary school, whereas a lot of kids wanted to just talk about playing on the jungle gym and doing all this type of stuff. I was into, yo, you want to play Pokemon? You want to hook the link cable up and do all that? So, you know, some people would look at you, or kids would look at me like, no, I don't really want to do that. I just want to go out here and run around like I'm stupid or something like that. So
yeah. What about? Go ahead.
Oh, so no, I think that kind of, you know, it kind of changed for me as I got older with it. Like, it just became, you know, oh, cool, that's not your thing. Cool. I go to the next person and talk to them and see if they want to possibly do it.
Okay.
But I would say after a while, it just became, you know what? I'm going to try to, hey, this is what I do right here. You want to join in? Nah, okay, not your thing? Cool. Just know there's stuff out there like that. And then kind of just keep it moving from there.
What about you, Sin?
No, think about it. I don't think I've ever been socially awkward. I don't think so. I think same thing. I've always had like my group of friends. Like I would talk to them about the stuff I love. If I would talk to somebody else about it, like you jokes, like all right, it's not your thing. Cool. Like, I got friends I can go talk to about it that are just as passionate as I am. Even when I first started my first job, like I found a bunch of people there, friends that I'm still with to this day, that all love the same type of stuff that I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think I've ever been socially awkward. I don't think so. No.
Got you.
Uh-oh. Oh.
Loser, we lost everybody.
Oh, man.
Wow, that was a first.
There we go.
My fault.
Cool. Normally, this is the thing when you talk about Batman or something, but you weren't even talking about any of that. And you, I don't know. Something just happened there.
Yeah. That was
good.
weird.
Everybody's good. We're
Everybody
good. We're back.
good.
Can't see nobody, but I hear you also. Okay.
Oh.
There we go.
We all got a hard reset.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We're good. Yeah. Ty, have you ever felt socially awkward?
That's an interesting question because, like, to me, there's, like, are we talking about, like, socially awkward, like, I don't know how to talk to people, or, like, socially just uncomfortable, like...
Maybe a bit of both.
Okay. Because, like, there's, to me, socially awkward, like, there's the kind of, we're not talking about, like, just being on a mental spectrum. We're just talking about just how you feel internally or emotionally just walking into a room.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. So yes, the answer is yes. And that comes with just, do you know enough about the situation or the conversation at hand?
Sure.
I have learned to not be socially awkward when it comes to sports conversation.
Okay.
I don't know anything about sports. I don't want to know anything about sports. It, to me, is like a useless hobby to me, but everyone loves it, so I have learned the bare minimum.
I know what a football is. I know what a basketball
where the football is. I know where it goes. I know not to say, you know, he shot the basket and we're like on a 2-point conversion. Like, please, like, like,
oh, man.
But like, there came that point where I'm just like, I don't know why everyone's running around. How do you know where first down is? Like, like, he keeps moving. I don't understand.
You know what, Ty? I'm gonna tell you what's funny about you saying that is that, like, you saying that, like, you feel like it's a useless hobby. I am positive there are plenty of people who feel like reading comic books is a useless hobby.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The only difference is comic book nerds don't care if you like it because you like other things. Don't make me like the thing that you like.
Yeah. But we've kind of forced our hand now, right? Because we kind of run it. It's all us now. We're making shows.
But society did that. Not us. Now. Society did that because we turned around. All of a sudden, comic books and comic book movies and all these characters were cool. It's just like, oh, y'all mean y'all just picked on me for 30 years and all of a sudden you like the thing that I like and that's socially acceptable?
We grew up. We learned Hollywood now.
Yes, because they needed us to help inform them on why it was cool. It's one of those things where it's kind of like the connotation of reading comic books was considered geek or nerd and wasn't cool because you were reading. And then it was, not only are you reading, you read books with pictures. Like you're not even. It's like it's not only. It wasn't only that it was like you're not cool because you're reading. For the people who read, what you're reading lacks sophistication because it's got pictures. So you're getting hit from both sides. You know what I mean? If you're into that kind of stuff, and the reality of it is, we knew that what we were reading, if you were reading X-Men, really was about discrimination.
All those
it really was about these deep love stories and these really tough situations that people are in. A lot of what we were reading, those stories were the same as the stories that people were going to the movie theater to watch, or popping in a VHS tape to watch, or tuning in every week to a show to see what happens next. I mean, comic books are essentially soap operas, right? And so in the same way that you could make fun of the lady who gotta watch her soaps, we were the guys or the gals who had to see what happens next in our comic book. And so I think that as it hit mainstream, people saw, oh, Captain America really is about this and really does this. It's really political and it's really a thriller, and oh man, what's gonna happen? And as you begin to get invested in these characters, it ain't even whether you feel it's cool. You just find the investment in it. You know what I mean? And I think that's what has happened culturally. So our culture, what was our thing, has begun to bleed out and touch other people, and it's begun to, if nothing else, open the eyes of a lot of people who are still not going to go to a comic book store or pick up a comic book and ever read page to, you know what I mean, cover to cover. Not ever going to happen. But they'll sit down and marathon the entire MCU and will mistakenly give the DCEU a chance. But shots fired. Listen,
on that same note, really quick. So there was a woman on, I think she was on Instagram, and a cousin of mine forwarded me the video. She had made some recording. She was just like, "Hey, I've got a young one, and with all the Black Lives Matter stuff going on, and he's really into comics, is there any comic that I can sit him down to read that will help him understand?" I was like, "Oh, sweetheart, make him watch X-Men. Make him read X-Men. Like, that's it. That's it." Like, it really just dumbfounded me. Just like you said, like the adult themes and the real life content that comic book, that's literally what they are. That's literally all any kind of media is. It's just mirroring what happens in real life, whether you watch the news, whether you watch syndicated television, whether you watch film, whether you read books, whether you read comics. It doesn't matter. It just mirrors what's happening in real life. And that's where X-Men came about. Was Stan Lee was just like, okay, we're just going to take black people and turn them into mutants.
We're gonna give them powers.
Okay. So people are doing crime in their own neighborhoods. Guess what we're going to create? Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, people are being unpatriotic. Here's what we're going to do: Captain America.
Yeah.
The only one that I have a question on is Thor. I still don't know where that came into play, but that's beside the point. So,
I mean, listen, people question their God all the time.
That's true. That's on
fact. There you go.
And everybody,
there it is.
And follow different religions, and the idea that there are that somebody else's God isn't yours, but you have your belief. You know what I mean? That your morals are still the same. That constant fight between science and religion. Thor is a marriage of that world. That science and religion. So
I didn't know where he was going to go with that, but I knew he was going to knock it out of the park. I was like, as soon as Ty said it, I was like, Gage got something for this already. I know. And he ain't missed a beat. Jump right into it.
Damn.
Do it.
That's what it is. So listen, at this point, just straight up yes or no. I'm gonna go to each one of y'all. Are you comfortable currently being a geek? Sin, you first. Yes or no?
Absolutely. All day. Let's go.
Ty.
Yep.
Jokes?
Hell to the yes.
So, how did we get there? Because I'm comfortable. I feel like I've been comfortable for a long time, though I do think that there were times when I wanted to kind of tuck away some of the things that I really loved, maybe in certain groups or in, you know what I mean? In you know, I definitely feel like there were times like that for me. Now it's like so front facing all the time, every day.
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
Dragon Ball Z front was on there for like.
Yeah, it's every day for me. How did we get comfortable? Sin, how did you get comfortable?
Stop caring what people think and just be happy being myself for one. Another thing was being fortunate of having people like yourselves and other people around me always who've been into the same stuff. So I've always had close friends who are still my friends to this day, that we all still rock and we all into the stuff, we're passionate about it. So just keeping that network of, you know, friends around me, like I said with the start, stop caring what people think and just be me.
What about you, Ty?
For me, it in agreements with that, with Sin, it's a matter of, it's not just being comfortable being a nerd or a geek. It's about being comfortable being me.
Sure.
And because just from my history and my background, growing up in theater and growing up in dance, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about who I am and blah, 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 blah. Everyone gets the picture. I don't need to go into that. But, like, it's just like, you know what? I don't care, because you don't have to walk in my skin. You don't have to walk my lifestyle. I'm going to like what I like. I'm going to not like what I don't like. And either you can get on my page. We don't need to agree on every single thing on the planet. I don't like sports. You don't like anime. Move on. You like anime. I like anime. You like subbed. I like dubbed. Move on. Like,
right.
That's an endless. That's an endless battle that will never go away.
And I don't care. Like, that's my comfortability. You want to like 7. I want to like Final Fantasy 10. Guess what? Still don't care. Move on. Guess what? They're in the same universe anyway. Don't care.
Right. Right. What about you, Jokes? How'd you get comfortable?
Kind of mirroring. Like, it's just, I just wanted to be myself. Like, I wasn't trying to conform to be like the others. Like, I always wanted to be me. So, you know, I learned that real young. You know, especially moms, pops was always, whatever it is that you like, we want you to go out there and we want you to do. We're going to support you. As long as you're not out there doing illegal or whatever it is.
Illegal things, right.
We got your back. We support you. We're going to be there for it.
Yeah.
So it was just being myself. And then eventually it became, people would come to me and start asking me some questions. So yeah, about this Power Ranger. So, like, I heard they got cars. They actually drive around in cars, and they're like souped up cars and all this type of stuff. That was an actual real conversation that I had at one point. That was someone just like you talk, Gage. They were a car buff. Like, they loved cars.
Yeah.
So when they found out the Power Rangers drove around in, like, between normal sized cars and they grew to become these gigantic type things, it became a whole conversation. So I liked and enjoyed being that bridge between people that necessarily didn't understand certain things. And then once they understood and knew a little bit more about it, it's like, okay, now I kind of get it. I kind of see where you're coming from, why you're into such and such for it. So I just really enjoyed being that bridge for some people.
I dig it. I mean, I think the thing that made me comfortable was my own personal interest in what makes people like things I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It's an odd, kind of a weird thing for me. Where
no, I like it.
I have this thing about looking for understanding. Like, I like all kinds of music. There's music I don't like. Like, it's not in my playlists. You know what I mean? I have a very eclectic ear. But, like, going to a concert and watching people have the best time of their lives,
Mm-hmm.
the best time of their lives, enjoying something I don't enjoy is amazing to me. And looking for and searching for that understanding and finding it, finding the similarities in how they enjoy what they enjoy, why they enjoy what they enjoy, and being able to compare that to what I enjoy. So the the minute details about Spider-Man, Peter Parker, what his abilities are, his origin story, you know what I mean, why I like it and I enjoy it, and comparing that to the person who's like knows every stat Kobe Bryant ever had,
Mm-hmm.
what he scored in high school, the name of his high school, the neighborhood he grew up in. You know what I mean? Like,
Down to the
Right.
street
why do
he
you
lived
know
on.
that? People will ask me, why do you know that about Spider-Man? And I'm like, why do you know that about Michael Jordan? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I know what a clutch is. I know what a differential is. I know what a catalytic converter is. Don't ask me to put it together. Don't ask me why one's more
Right.
important than the other.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, but I certainly understand people's need to find the most minute details in a thing and dig down to it so that they have an understanding that they can be excited about the fact that they know things other people don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when they find somebody who knows what they know, you have a connection instantly.
Boom.
And I realize that a lot of it is just about having a connection with other people. That's it. Somebody gets dressed and goes to a football game every Sunday. They wear
Mm-hmm.
somebody else's jersey. They dress up like a different human being.
Face paint.
Put on face paint,
whatever it may be.
right? And paint a car, and they tailgate and have a party. We call that a Comic-Con.
Yep.
You call it a football game.
Boom.
It
Right.
ain't that different,
Yeah.
bro. You know
It's
what
not
I'm
that
saying?
different.
We call it a movie premiere. You call it
Yep.
the Super Bowl. It ain't that different.
It's
You
not
understand what I'm
different.
saying? For
And-
all the
and-
things that you have ever been able to make fun of me for having a lot of love for, I literally could make the same kind of fun of you for liking whatever it is you like. Why are you excited about spokes? They're in a wheel. Why is that exciting to you? You know what? The fact that that's exciting to you and that you're comfortable being excited about the treads on a tire, that's dope to me. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody has to be that. It's why I watch Discovery Channel. Because there are people who want to go do things that I think are interesting that I'm never doing. I'm not climbing a mountain. I'm not jumping out of a plane. But if that's how you get off, get off. Let me just videotape it. Let me watch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm good.
Right. Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I got comfortable because I was able to realize that we're actually all the same. We just chose a different thing to follow and fall in love with, and it's okay to be different in that way. It's okay to be different in the things that we like. We all like them for the same kinds of reasons. That made me comfortable. That made me super comfortable. So how about this? How do we help other people? How do we help younger generations, people in our generation, even older generations? How do we help them get comfortable the way that we are? How do we help people get comfortable with themselves? How do we do that? Ty got me.
I wish his feed was there because like I just want to see his face right now. Like, that,
Yeah, just
You know?
click the.
We help other people and we help the next generation by leaving them the hell alone and cultivating them and letting them like whatever it is that they want to like and telling them it's okay.
There it is.
It's so, like we made all these analogies and similarities in sports and cars and animals and science and math and all this other stuff. Why are all of those okay? Someone told them it's okay.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and like all of a sudden now comic book and movies are okay and it's not weird and he's strange and he just sits up in his dark room playing video games all day and probably you should get some sun, but that's beside the point. But yeah, get up, walk around a little bit. But it's okay now. It's got its own industry. It's got its own money-making economy and stuff. That's why it's okay. But that's where we're shifting. But we can't keep. Hopefully, we're not still shaming people and shaming kids. And I think we're, for the most part, we're there, because people are just like, people have kids. It's just like, I'm naming him after Han Solo, and he's going to dress up as Yoda for Halloween, and we're going to, like, that's now a culture. So I think this is how.
I want to honestly say on that note, I think that's just as bad. I mean, I think that's just as bad as having a kid and naming him Jordan, naming him you know what I mean, naming him,
because you forced it on them
and forcing your world on their world. If they turn around and decide that they don't like comic books, it's okay that they don't like comic books. It's okay if they don't like video games. It's okay if they don't want to play sports. If they decide they want to ride bikes, if they, you know what I mean, like, you saying it's okay, it has to go both ways, and I think that's the difference.
Correct.
Not shaming under any circumstance.
Correct.
If you have a son who wants to dance instead of play ball, let him dance.
Let him
you know
dance.
What I mean? If you have a kid who wants to sing, let him sing. If you have a kid who prefers being non-binary,
right,
let them be non-binary.
Let them be.
Let them be. Let them be who they are. Don't try to make them who you were. You know what I mean? Who you wanted to be.
Or you want them
Don't
to be.
try to make them the kid you couldn't be when you were a kid. That is, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you said, you had the neighbors who the father was the football player and the mother was the track star, so all the kids are swollen, whatever. But you know what? Deep down inside, one of those kids might have just wanted to read comic books.
True.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
They might have just wanted to get on stage and sing songs. You know what I mean? And act, or, whatever. I think a lot of times we try to pigeonhole people into one thing. And I can remember being like, Bruce Willis, he's an actor. Why does he also have an album? That dude's not a singer. But why not? If you study theater, don't you do both? You know what I'm saying? Tupac was a rapper and a poet and an actor. You know what I'm saying? So, those are, you can play in more than one realm. And it's okay to do so. And I think with that, man, we can wrap this up. Like, I feel really good about this conversation.
Yeah, it was great. Great one.
I feel really good about where we are right now. And I feel good about continuing to do this. So we will continue to do this every month. We are doing this as a part of Otakon Online next month. Jokes, hit them with the dates. Let them know what's popping.
Yep, so Saturday, August 1st. Unfortunately, Otakon, the actual convention itself, got canceled, so they're shifting everything online. So we are going to have the opportunity to actually bring this panel to Otakon. As of right now, we don't have the specific time. We do know it is on August 1st. As soon as they hit me with the actual set dates and time, or time I should say, we will drop that and share that with everybody. But looking to bring this experience to Otakon as well too.
Yeah.
Fun fact, my first con was Otakon, and that's where I got this signed Green Ranger t-shirt from Jason David Frank.
Really? He was at Otakon?
That you watched?
Oh, that's fun, because my first...
This was years ago.
My first convention was a Wizard World one. That's where I met him at, and saying I got like everything signed, pictures. Oh, that was a good day for me.
That was my full head of dreads.
Did y'all both go to that con to meet Jason David Frank?
My specific point of going to that con was to meet Jason David Frank.
No.
That was my first con ever.
That was a yes for jokes.
So that was my first con ever. So once I got in, and then I met him, it was cool, and then I saw everybody else that was around that I could possibly meet at the same time. I lost it a little bit.
I believe it. See that? That's what we're talking about. Similarities and differences. Y'all both went to a con. It was both y'all first con. Y'all both met the Green Ranger, used to be the White Ranger. Both got autographs from him, but both went for different reasons.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
I'll tell you my reason. I went there because I started selling. My first con, I had a booth.
Hey.
Oh,
that's
awesome. I do everything backwards. My first film festival was my own film festival. I do everything backwards.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. I dig that. Hey, look, so we know we're going to keep doing this. We know we have this happening at Otakon. Ty, I want to thank you for joining us, for being a part of this conversation.
Absolutely.
Can you tell people how they can get a hold of Elements of Light?
Well, my phone number is no, I'm teasing.
Hey, throw it out there like that. Like
Okay. We're gonna do that.
you can call me on
It's
my
2020. I'm
cell
single.
COVID single.
So Elements of Light, you can search it on Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram. Elements of Light comic. That's really important. So Elements of Light comic. Also, you can read the beautiful comic book. Written and created by me, illustrated by the Zong brothers. Here's a little fun fact. The Zong brothers are twin brothers who live in India. One twin does the pencil and inks, the other does the colors and letters. They work beautifully together.
That's dope.
Oh my God, their work is amazing. And you can find it on www.eolcomic.blogspot.com. EOL, so Elements of Light. Get that question a lot. But yeah, feel free to check it out. Issue 3 is in production currently. Stupid excited about that. And then hopefully once that's done, I'll come out with an issue and a volume.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
I know.
Okay.
I'm so excited. What? Okay.
Okay. My God. All right, so listen, everybody who's watching, make sure you go and do that. Please follow Elements of Light. Please follow Tyrone across social media. Again, thank you, Ty, for joining us. You can make sure you are following Loading Snacks across all socials. It's really easy. Just add Loading Snacks. If you search us on Google, you can bing us. You can bing us, and we'll show up. It's just a thing. Look for Loading Snacks. We just launched a new channel all about those snacks that are loading. So, keep your eyes open for that. We have a lot of content that's going to continue to come your way.
Hey, one tidbit I want to throw in, because this is for you, Sin. My man Crispin over here is like us wondering when we're going to cover Moon Knight, and I know that's your buddy right there. Little inside thing for you guys there if you've been. My man loves some Moon Knight.
He doesn't love Moon Knight.
Hey, that's gonna be the greatest joke on Disney Plus. Don't fake on Moon Knight. Don't fake.
He doesn't love Moon
Don't
Knight.
fake.
You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to hear us talk about Moon Knight, you stick around, because that's definitely going to happen.
Y'all, I won't be here for that conversation. I don't know nothing about no Moonlight. All right, thanks.
You're about to find out.
I guess we'll all learn together, because nobody knows.
Nobody knows about Moon Knight.
Yeah.
They don't know nothing about no Moon Knight.
Teach me about some football, Sin. Teach me about some football. Moon Knight football.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah, not even.
This is actually 21.
Make sure you're following us across all social media, YouTube, Facebook. We're there. We appreciate you guys' support. We really do. And make sure you check us out on Patreon, where you can go and kind of support us monetarily so we can keep doing things like this. Has been super, super, super helpful in times like this, where it's hard for us to get together and create the content that we're used to creating, and actually sitting down at panels like we would normally do in front of a crowd. Super helpful. So patreon.com/loading snacks for that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please get comfortable being a geek. And if you have questions or concerns or are unsure of ways you can do so, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help.
All of us. All of us.
With that, toodles and loos. What it do, snackers and snackettes? Did you like what you just saw? Would you like to help us grow? Here's what you can do. Shoot over to patreon.com/loading snacks. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite platform of choice. Appreciate you.